Alrighty, we should be live. Heck yeah, the chat is booming. Alrighty, good to see everybody. Please drop a message in the chat. Let me know if all the audio and everything is working and you can see and hear me correctly, as usual. And then we'll get started with all of your mixes in just a second here. There's, of course, a little bit of a delay here, so I'm just awaiting your messages. And then we'll get started here in just a sec. Alright, we got Max here. Max, good to see you, man. Alessandro is here. Sam is here. Good to see you all. John is here from San Francisco. Steve from Germany. Of course, Steve, good to see you. Alright, we got the Bright Height Production. I think there's a name connected to that too, but I don't remember. Okay, we got Alberto from Italy. Awesome. Let's see. John from San Jose. Awesome. We got a couple Johns here. Love that. Good to see you, Max. Everything good, man. Good to hear. We got Dr. Dave Music. Daniel Baker's here. Good to see you, dude. Jesus. Alrighty. Where is my hair gone? Yeah, this is actually not a mix review call. We're actually going to discuss my new hair for 2 hours, so I hope you guys are ready for that. No, I don't know. It was time for a change, so I just cut it off. All right, let's see. Timothy's here. Sounds good. Love it. All right, looks good. Are you guys stoked to dive into your mixes? I know I am. I always love these mix reviews. For me, it's like a coach and whatever. It's like the most direct way that I can literally just help you guys, right? Just literally telling you, like, this is a problem here. This is how you can fix it. So I've been looking forward to this call for sure. The chat is boom. I love that. I love that all of you guys are here. Clive is here. Awesome. We got Ermus, Richard, Germany, Triclops. Oh yeah, Triclops 8. Yeah, you gotta change your name, dude. I keep messing it up. But that's okay. I think I'm gonna mess up the pronunciation of most of your guys' names today, because as you probably know by now, I just suck at pronouncing names. So that's all good. Nino is here. Awesome. All right, guys. We're just gonna get started. Not gonna keep you guys any longer. We're just gonna review you guys' mixes. But I would love this to be a little bit of like a collaborative thing. So I'm just gonna play these mixes in Pro Tools, and I'm gonna throw EQs and everything on there to show you guys whatever I'm hearing and however I think you can improve your mix. But I would love if all of you guys would drop it in the chat as well. Anything that you are hearing on this mix that we're listening to that could be constructive, that could help the person that has mixed it. I would love if you guys just dropped it in the chat for 2 reasons, actually. Not just to help the other person. That's obviously the first reason, right? You're just helping somebody with his mixes. But secondly, as I want to say the past 2-3 years, I literally reviewed thousands of mixes by now, literally thousands. And what that has done for me is it has given me an ear training that is unimaginable in terms of like you listen to a mix, right? And you want to help this person, and so you're not just listening for problems and solutions, but you're literally also like putting that to words, right? So it's listening and then putting to words what you're hearing so that another person can hopefully understand it and work with that. And that part, that kind of process of listening, putting it to words, explaining what you're hearing, that's going to train your ears in a way that literally nothing else will do. So that's why I want to invite you guys to also drop in the chat any notes that you might have that are constructive. Of course, we're not going to be hating on everybody or just going to kick you out of this call, obviously, right? We're just going to be productive and constructive here. But yeah, for 2 reasons, right? Help another person, help yourself, train your ears. All right, let's see. We got Dr. Dave first time. Excited to learn here. Love it. We got Fabi from Switzerland. Kimmo from Finland. Of course, Kimmo, good to see you, man. You can call me Lesser. That's good to know. Because I do think I have a mix of you pulled up here. So Lesser it is. That's good. We got Standard Deviant here. Love it. Nashville. Sick. All right, Alessandro's in. He's going to drop some feedback in the chat. Very cool, very cool. I'm not sure if the audio is working because your hair seems to be shorter. Yeah, but like I said, we're going to discuss my hair for 2 hours, so get ready. All right, George is here. Good to see you guys. Reviews are the best way to learn. Absolutely. Cool, John. Yeah, we had a four-man in the group in the community. I don't know if you're there yet. You are an Artist Pass member, so you have access to the community. That's where we do a ton of cool stuff. Like I had the submission form for the mix reviews in the community. We regularly have contests. I can't wait to show you guys the new contest that is gonna come up in a few months, probably. I mean, but we might even do another contest in between. But I have a sick idea for a cool contest as soon as all the Telos plugins are gonna be out. So we still have Telos bass coming and Telos vocals coming, right? And as soon as those plugins are out, we're gonna do what is probably gonna be my favorite mix contest ever. More about that later, though, obviously. Let's see. Yeah, let's just dive in. I think all of you guys are stoked and here, so let's just get rolling here, all right? All right, cool. Everybody at the ready. We're just gonna go to Pro Tools now. As you can see, I have pulled up a couple of mixes. Actually, you can just see one, which is more than enough. And all the way to the right here, there's going to be way more mixes. We're just going to hit play. I'm just going to do this exactly as I've always done for thousands of mixes. I'm going to hit play, and as soon as any thought pops up into my mind about what can be improved, I'll stop and I'll share the thought. And then hopefully that will help you guys. So, are you guys ready for this? We're just gonna dive in. I've got EQ put up so I can just, show you any problematic frequencies or whatever. And that's how we're gonna roll. So first mix here is actually Lesser. So you were already here in the chat, which is good. And we could call you Lesser. I was gonna say Luffy, Lesser. I don't know. Lesser is here, so good to see you. Let's listen to your mix, man. See if any thoughts come up and how you can improve your mix. Here we go. Okay, cool. By the way, guys, let me know if Pro Tools audio is working well for you guys. Otherwise, I'm just going to be reviewing a bunch of stuff that you can't even hear, right? So please drop a message in the chat if the Pro Tools audio just came through here. And I'll wait for your messages to confirm before we continue, obviously. And I love that it works. Okay, cool. Thank you, guys. Love that. Okay, so first thought, it's a good starting point. I think the relationship between your bass and rhythm guitars can be improved a little bit. I'm hearing some muddiness in your bass guitar. I was just looking for that. So you'll see me doing, by the way, guys, you'll see me doing a lot of mid-side EQ. That is not because I use mid-side EQ in a mix. But in this case, it will just allow me to kind of highlight a problem that is in the center of the mix, right? Like a bass guitar that I want to show you guys a little problem with here. That's in the center, so I'll just have this EQ only working in the center to hopefully, mostly target that bass guitar, show you the problem as good as I can here. When we're doing rhythm guitars, I'll probably move to a sides EQ here, so that's where the guitars are, right? Or anything that is panned out. But yeah, not to confuse that I do a lot of mid-side EQ in the mix or something, because I don't. It sounds weird. Let's check out that bass problem here for Lesser here. It's actually higher up or yeah, right around there. So between 160 and 180, something like that. There's just a bit of like a build-up here, which is kind of ruining your rhythm guitar energy there in the lower mid. Yeah, it's actually a little closer to 200. And then there's one more frequency in your bass that is kind of overstepping. It's around 100 hertz here. And now you notice that the mix gets kind of thin, right, when we start cutting this, which is good. I think the bass needs to be thinned out a little bit. But then on the flip side, your rhythm guitars are actually kind of thin as well. So now if you move that energy that we just cut out of the lower mids here, and you move that energy towards the rhythm guitars, which are panned out, right? So hence the side EQ here, you're actually going to get like a wider low-end image, or in this case, wider low-mid-range image, which is going to just give you a big wall of sound here. See, your guitars can totally use a lot more lower mid-range power. Let's see, I'll actually go to a different section of the song here. It sounds super phasey, right? Because we're doing mid-side EQ here. So hopefully you guys can just kind of ignore that part, but just listen to how that extra, because I'm doing a pretty big boost here. It's 5 dB in the lower mid-range. How that's just giving the guitars a lot of beef. And now I just bypass the EQ, and it just feels as if the center is kind of too busy and almost kind of muddying the mix up a little bit. And the guitars just fall flat, right? In that lower mid-range, you can totally have a lot more beef going on there. So feel free to push that a lot further there. Let's see what else we can do about this mix here. I think the cymbals can come up a little bit in volume, because I think that's going to just give you a little bit more energy than we have right now. So just try to get as much cymbal in a mix that you can get away with without making things super harsh or too, ear-piercing, that kind of stuff. But right now, you're kind of on the lower side. Other than that, I think this is a decent mix, man. I love the vocals. Let's check a little bit further. Yeah, vocals are great, man. No real issues there. The other main thing that I'm hearing is definitely a little bit distortion on your kick drum. You know, that kind of, what is it? That as if the drive is just a little bit too much and you get a little bit of that farty sound. It's not, a nice kind of tight, kind of short kick anymore. It's more like a run right now. So if you can clean that up, I think it's going to sound even more punchy, So... And then lastly, I would say your snare. I like the sound of it, and I think you did a good job giving it, a tag and some nice sustain and ring and everything. But it does feel a little bit flat, so maybe you can have like a little bit more a snare reverb going on, or maybe even a snare room sample that I like to use to give it a little bit more a sense of ambience, a sense of space around that snare. But yeah, man, other than that, I think you're definitely on the right track with this one. I think the biggest issue is really that lower mid problem in the bass, and then the lower mid lacking, for better words, lack of better words, is the what is it? The rhythm guitars, right? The rhythm guitars could use a little bit more lower mid range. So let's see. Hopefully that helps you lesser, man. I think that should be good for you, man. All right, let's see. Let's catch up on the comments here. All right, cool. Yep, nice. Alessandro saying guitars are dark. Oh, I won't say dark. I think they're pretty good. They just need more low mid beef. Steve, the overall audio is lower than the YouTube channels. Yeah, that's totally fair, man. That's cool. Just crank up your monitors a little bit. You should be good. Awesome. All right. Love it. All right, let's continue. Next up, we got Jesus Rivera. Let's see if Jesus is here. Alrighty. Let's check out Jesus' mix here. I think this is Without You from The Vault, so this should be another familiar song. Let's hit play. It's maybe a little loud, so let's lower it a little bit. Alright, man, this is a great mix. There's not going to be a lot of comments here, I think. I would say the snare and or the snare reverb are a little bit dark. There's a little bit of like a low mid build up here. But yeah, it's hard to pinpoint whether that's the snare itself or it's the snare reverb. Either way, I'm just taking out a little bit of that like low mid kind of boomy kind of sound almost. Yeah, but like 2 or 3 dB less of that kind of fundamental frequency of the snare drum. I tend to like it better because this is obviously up-tempo song. There's a lot of energy. It's kind of almost supposed to sound a little bit more, I don't want to say harsh, but you know what I mean, right? It has to have a lot of presence and a lot of energy from the cymbals, a lot of presence in the guitars. And then if you have such a massive snare, it's almost kind of taken away from that kind of punky kind of feeling, you know? So I would totally sacrifice a little bit of the weight in your drums to get more of that like energetic stuff going on here. I really dig that. Other than that, let's check out some vocals here.
Can I say what's on my mind? Can I let you know exactly how I feel inside?
I think the vocals sound okay, man. I just want a little bit more definition here. So I'm just cranking up an EQ in the center here, which is where the vocals are.
Say what's on my mind. Can I let you know exactly how I feel inside?
And now the vocal really, really cuts through, right? So I'm boosting 4 dB. I don't think the numbers are important at 2K here, but it's a super wide bell. So I'm just trying to bring up that kind of aggressive presence area here.
Say what's on my mind. Can I let you know exactly how I feel inside? You were such a waste of.
And just notice how the vocal just takes like 5 steps forward, right? It's so in your face with that little EQ boost here. And without it, it's just not as good. It's just not as in your face, not as upfront, not as energetic, right? So a lot of good benefits with just a small EQ boost here.
You know exactly how I feel inside. You were such a waste of time. I'm thinking
Yeah, that sounds really cool. Let's check out the rest here.
tired of all your.
Okay, then we have an actual a little bit bigger problem here. You have the lead guitar, and it's all the way panned out to the right. I'm not against that at all, but it does create a little bit of like a harsh kind of feeling on that right side here.
Bullshit, every single goddamn.
Like it's too much. I would totally try to warm that guitar up a little bit. So this EQ on the right channel only,
Bullshit, every single goddamn line.
and just more mid-range instead.
Bullshit, every single goddamn line. Back on.
It totally becomes louder as well, right? But I'm really just looking for more warmth, more definition, and less of that kind of ear-piercing harshness here.
Bullshit, every single goddamn line. Back on your shit, take all your stuff, believe my dick.
Yeah, it gets really harsh when we just bypass the EQ there, right? So definitely a good practice here to cut some, what am I cutting, 2.5K here.
Bullshit, every single goddamn line. Back on your shit, take all your stuff, believe my.
Can also cut a little bit of 4K. There's one more super ear-piercing,
Bullshit, every single goddamn line.
3.5-ish. So yeah, there's a couple things going on there for sure that are too harsh. I would kind of get rid of that a little bit without getting too technical there. But just try to get more mid-range in that guitar. That's probably going to be the best thing here, because even if we get rid of this and just boost the mid-range,
Bullshit, every single goddamn line.
guitar already sounds way, way, way better. And then, of course, you have to lower the volume, right, to kind of compensate for that extra definition. And this is definitely helping it cut through a lot easier as well. So yeah, a lot of benefits again from this small move here. Make sure you definitely have a little bit less harshness in that guitar. I would probably have it down the center as well, because I just like having that guitar kind of be a layer beneath the vocal and then have some stereo delay going on there, something like that, you know. But it's totally fine to have it down the right, but just, like I said, warm it up a little bit and then you should be good.
And I will.
Okay, let's check out the transition into the chorus
You
here.
can't do better than me. I guess we'll see. And I will.
Okay, the transition into the chorus is okay, but I think it is kind of flat in terms of like energy curve. I think you can push that a lot further with volume automation, for example. So you got the drum fill over here,
Guess we'll see.
and that kind of announces like, hey, the chorus is coming up, right? So listener, get ready. Something exciting is going to happen here. And then the chorus kicks in and it's just exactly the same levels, exactly the same energy. Everything is kind of more or less the same. And I would definitely try to be a little bit bolder with the volume automation there and just try to get, well, let's see actually.
I guess we'll see. And I.
So yeah, that first kick and that first crash in the cymbal, right? It's like, and die, that can be brought up like 1,000,000 dB. So that is really like a massive explosion right at the beginning of that chorus, right? So the first kick automated up, first crash hit way up, right? So that you get a ton of energy there, a big explosion at the start of the chorus there. Yeah, and even the rhythm guitars can come up like half a dB, right? Even like these little moves, that's gonna do a lot of good for the what is it, like the sense of energy and the idea that the chorus is gonna be the biggest section of the song, right? So yeah, that's good. I think that's pretty much it for you, Jesus. So to summarize a little bit more, 2K, that wide bell boost on your vocal to help it cut through. Make sure that that lead guitar that was panned out to the right gets more warmth and less harshness. And then definitely try to be way bolder with volume automation, because this feels kind of like a static mix. So make sure you create a lot of movement by, you know, getting your drums up in the chorus and a little bit of rhythm guitars, that kind of stuff, right? I think that's going to create a lot of excitement and movement in your mix. So that should help you, man. Automation, that's really where it's going to be at for you. All right, let's see. Oh, Sam is saying that lead guitar is on the same track as the right rhythm track. That makes a lot of sense. That's totally cool. In that case, I would still just give it more warmth, though. So that point still stands. But then, of course, yeah, panning it down the center is not going to be a great option if you don't have a rhythm guitar there. Love it. Awesome. All right. Cool. I love that you guys are dropping in notes as well. Very cool. All right. We got next up, we got Dylan. I'm going to mess up your names, guys. Aguilar. Dylan Aguilar. I hope Dylan is here. If not, that's totally fine. You can catch the replay. And you guys can still benefit from just, you know, talking and listening and judging audio, putting that to words and everything. Let's check out Dylan's mix here. Here we go. It's a decent start for sure. Two things come to mind right off the bat here. One is that the kick drum is not nearly as exciting and massive as the snare drum. And that makes for a little bit of like a disconnect between the drum kit, you know. So could totally get away with a lot more low end and low mids on the kick drum here. Infamous 90 hertz, 100 hertz boost here is giving you a lot of low mid kind of punch, right? That sense of getting kicked in the stomach. That's really what I'm looking for a lot more in this mix here. Really dig that. Similar as, what was it? I think it was Lesser's mix earlier on. I think the relationship between your bass guitar and your rhythm guitars can be improved a little bit. I do feel like bass, again, is just overstepping a little bit in that lower mid-range, and then the guitars are not big or weighty enough. So let's see if we can change that a little bit. Little bit of a cut at 125-ish in the bass guitar, and then more of that same kind of beef in the rhythm guitars here. That actually works really, really well here. Yeah, you get a nice wall of sound there. You don't want to push that too far, but I'm just exaggerating that to show you what I'm doing there. Really cool with that extra low mid beef on the guitar. So yeah, those two things were the first one. The other main thing about this intro here is that we have the rhythm guitars, which are just playing the, you know, the power chords. Duh, 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 duh. But then you also have this lead guitar, that's the octave guitar, which is playing a much more interesting melody, right? But then you mixed it way lower, like all the way to the background. It's like, why did you do that? That's the most interesting part here. make sure you get it up front, right? So that it's just, for the listener, it grabs the attention of the listener. Again, it's off to the right side. I would probably just keep it down the center in this case. Because again, it's like a lead guitar. It's an interesting melody. It's like probably like some sort of like a hook in the song, right? And so it makes no sense to mix it like in the corner somewhere down there, right? Make it up front, super loud, way in your face, so that again it just really grabs the attention of the listener.
I've been waiting up all night.
Yeah, same thing over here in the verse. I think it's totally cool to keep that lead guitar like slightly behind the vocals. I think that will be really cool with some nice stereo delay on it or something that kind of spreads it out a little bit.
All night for you to call and say everything's alright, everything's okay.
Alright, other than that, it's good, man. I think you can get away with more cymbals as well. A lot of people tend to mix their cymbals too low, just kind of afraid of harshness or whatever. But yeah, you're definitely leaving a lot of energy on the table by having your cymbals kind of at this level. So feel free to bring them up a bit. And for some reason, your cymbals feel very mono, like they're not panned out or something, like there's no stereo information. Your hi-hat, for example, feels as if it's exactly down the center. I would like there to be a little bit more width in the cymbals here. Let's check out these toms here. Okay, cool. So your toms are like maybe a 6 out of 10 compared to your kick and snare. Right, your kick and snare, they have a lot more punch. They seem to have more compression going on that emphasizes the attack. They're pretty big sounding, right? It's at least the snare's pretty decent sized sounding. The kick could be bigger, right? Like I said, could have more low mids. But then the toms are like a couple dB quieter. They don't have the same amount of punch, and it doesn't sound as if he's hitting the toms as hard as he's hitting the snare. And so, yeah, the tom groove here is not really impressive just yet, because you're kind of leaving those things on the table there. Floor tom for especially is a little bit lower in excitement, I guess, than the other drum shells. Yeah, totally crank these toms up by a lot here. Okay, let's see what's happening. Going into the chorus, I think. Yeah, and then very similar as the previous mix here. There's absolutely no increasement in energy as soon as we go into this massive section here, and there should be, right? It should be like it should feel like a massive finale here. So again, way bolder volume automation is required there. I would probably have the rhythm guitars go a little bit down during that entire tom section. And then you just bring them back up to the level that they were before when you go into that massive section here. And then, of course, same things, right? Just that first kick hit, that first crash. Hopefully it's a double crash, right? So that he starts on a big explosion in that. I think it's the chorus. Yeah, just kind of emphasize that. Emphasize those important transition moments in the song, right? By... Yeah, and then in general, like the kick can come up a little bit in the chorus. The bass seems to actually be going out of tune a little bit here, because it feels like the bass player is getting too excited for the chorus, which is, you know, a good thing, but not if the tuning kind of messes up because of that. He goes a little sharp there. It's like, it's kind of on the sharper side there. So make sure that that's a tracking thing, obviously. But yeah, make sure you keep an even better eye out for that kind of stuff. Those little things during tracking are gonna make a massive difference here in the mix. Because I do like that the bass is loud here, but it's also putting kind of like a spotlight on the fact that it's not perfectly in tune there, which is a lost opportunity, right? So same here with the vocal. The vocal tuning is a little bit off here. That higher note. I'm not a singer, okay? So feel free to laugh at that, but that just doesn't feel like it's perfectly in tune, and it's especially in like important sections of the song like this. It's so crucial that you get all these performances just perfect, right? Whether that's during tracking or afterwards with editing. So if the performance is great, but it's just a little bit out of tune, just melodyne that stuff, there's no problem with that. But yeah, it should be a little tighter there. I do like the snare effects though, that's pretty cool. Yeah, I think that is the same thing here, by the way. The vocal tuning is just not ideal here. And yeah, that's just too bad, because like we can have a perfect mix, right? We can have the biggest drums ever, massive wall of sound with the guitars and bass, perfect relationships, right? Great step, all these things. We can have all these things, and then if the vocal is out of tune, it's still gonna sound amateur, right? So that's really where it starts, right? Pro mixing starts with the tracks, right? We all know this and we all agree to this, but on every single time we see little mistakes like that, and it just holds you back, right? So be ruthless, guys. When you're tracking and editing, be absolutely ruthless. That's the best tip that I can give anybody, right? So I think we've covered this one so far. Let's check out really quick what's happening here. This is a good transition. But yeah, same thing here. We just have that first crash a little louder, right? Just go a little bit more all out with that automation. Don't be shy with automation, right? I think that should be it for Dylan, man. I'm not sure if Dylan is here, but yeah, you guys can totally catch the replay. So if you guys have to bounce, no stress. The replay will be up, and I'll upload it into the community for you guys as well. Let's check it out. Let's go to the next one. Let me catch up on the chat really quick. All right, Sam and Steve are saying the guitars are too loud while the vocals are in the front. Yeah, I would say the vocals in the front is good. Guitar's loud. I think you can get away with that when the drums just take a step up in that lower mid-range, right? Like I said in the beginning, if you get more of that 100 Hz punch on the kick there, you're gonna get away with loud guitars easier. All right, let's check out Bill here. Based on what I'm hearing, which is all awesome, I think my mix isn't ready. If you plan on listening today, there's no such thing as a mix that is not ready for feedback, Bill. So don't be held back, man, by other people's mixes. I'd be more than happy to review your mix. I don't know if I loaded up your mix, but yeah, man, don't be held back by what other people are doing, man. There's no need for that. We're all here to grow. Awesome. All right, change the singer. Yeah. No, I don't. That's not a good idea, man. I was actually planning to make a YouTube video about like you know how you always see people when we're talking about editing, you always see people like, oh, you just gotta get a better drummer and you just gotta get a better singer, and it's like, well, that's not gonna give you much of a chance while you're trying to make this a career, right? And when you're trying to build a successful band or whatever, right? It's like, are you really gonna tell your clients as soon as they come in, right at the start of your career, you're not a great drummer, get out of here, go home and practice? It's like, you're not gonna be able to get a career like that, right? So you just have to have the skills to make a bad drummer sound great. That's really what we're doing here. So yeah, we should totally get a Telos singer plugin instead. Exactly. Never blame the band. Always take responsibility for making them sound good. Absolutely. All right, let's move on. Let's check out Marco's mix here. Marco Klippel. Am I saying that right? I think so. Let's see what's up. Let's see what it sounds like. Oh, nice. This is actually a song that I mixed originally, so I'm excited to check this out.
There's a game
Okay, a couple things come to mind right off the bat here, and that is first and foremost the vocal is a little thin, so you need more body. So again, this EQ down the center here is just for more vocal body. There's so much body and like, yeah, literally just body, I guess is the best word, in this mid-range area here. And too many mix engineers I see are just focused on like getting more top end, more air in the vocal. And don't get me wrong, I love air in a vocal, but if it's not kind of working together with massive body in the vocal as well, it will sound thin and it will sound kind of scooped. And that's exactly what's happening with Marco's vocal here. Because as soon as we bypass that, you immediately notice like, oh yeah, that vocal is scooped, right? There's no mid-range definition, body, all these words. So try to bring up that body more. And that actually goes for a couple other things as well, like drums and guitars. So let's see what we can do for drums here. Actually, kick is kind of decent. I think you can get away with more sub-low end, probably, but I'm pretty happy with the character of your kick there. Snare could also have a little bit more low end. The snare's biggest issue, though, is like one of the earlier mixes as well. I forget whose one it was, but there's just like it's dry, right? It's just like right down the center. It's just like duck, and that's it. It's like there's no like sense of space or ambience or something like that around that snare. So make sure you add a room sample or more reverb, something along those lines that's gonna give you more like, I guess, just 3D, right? These drums are very 2-dimensional. Try to make them more 3-dimensional. I think that's gonna do a lot of good for the overall sense of size and space in this mix. That's one thing. Then the rhythm guitars, kind of similar. They just need more body as well, same as the vocals. Pretty much again in that lower half of the guitar sound, right? Because guitars kind of start at 100 hertz and they kind of cut out at 8K or something. So the lower half needs to be brought up here. Because you got plenty of presence, you got plenty of mid-range. This is that lower mid-range beef, right? Where that wall of sound is going to come from. That should really be brought up and kind of be pushed to the max, you know? So give that a try for sure. Let's check out the breakdown here. Okay, so I know from experience mixing this song originally that the China cymbal is not the most, it's not the loudest cymbal that, that was provided here. So make sure that you kind of compensate for that with volume automation so that no matter what cymbal is being played at no matter what time of the song, you should always have kind of a similar level of that top end energy. And so in this case, the China is lower in volume, so you have to compensate, bring it up at volume automation so that, again, no matter what cymbal is being played at any given time, you should have massive kind of energy up there, right? Especially during a breakdown riff like this, you want even more energy, so you should bring up that China even more, right? So that you really get that massive, like, that kind of feeling going on, right? Same thing here, we go back into the breakdown. So we got a double crash at the start here. Make sure you automate that up by 1,000,000 dB. So again, you get a massive, massive explosion there. So, so hopefully that makes sense. Okay, let's check out the chorus. And that's what I want to point out here. Notice how the crash here in the chorus has way more energy, way more volume than the China has in this breakdown. So the crash here. Oopsie. Let's hear that again. Has a lot of energy, a lot of excitement, a lot of volume, and then the China here. barely audible, right, underneath those guitars. So that's, yeah, you gotta compensate for that. Make sure that the breakdown is bigger, if anything, not smaller than the chorus. Let's check out more of the chorus here. I do like that you have the cleaner vocals quite loud in the mix. That is something that I wish I could change if I could remix the song again. Just have those clean vocals louder. Other than that, there's a lead kind of ambient guitar here somewhere. And that's also barely audible. Make sure you give that a little bit more priority, as well as a lot more ambient, right? So try to use the new delay plugin, for example. Have any of you guys been using the new delay plugin? Let me know your thoughts. I've been loving that thing. So, but that will be an excellent opportunity to just go all out. A lot of wetness, right? Probably go for like a ping pong with a lot of reverb on it so that you get a massive kind of ambient-y sound here. That's going to work really well in the chorus here. Then we go into another breakdown here. Okay, I like that you got the, the lo-fi guitar down the center here. That is pretty good. I would say the lo-fi guitar could use a little bit more gain and perhaps a little bit more of like a modern sound. It feels a little old school, while this genre is definitely more of like a modern kind of thing here. So floor tone there, that's awesome. But then again, right, you got the floor tom, and then we go back into the stuff. That first China could have come up by 1,000,000 dB again. That would be very cool if that was more energetic there. And then we go back into the chorus, and then we have the rest of the song there. So overall, man, I think, yeah, you just have to be a little bit bolder with a lot of things, right? So more ambience on drums, more bolder volume automation, especially when it comes to the cymbals and the kick drums and everything in breakdowns. That's going to give you a lot of energy, as well as the lead guitar in the chorus can be more ambient-y. So it is, again, it's like, it sounds like you're doing a lot of good things, you're just not pushing them far enough, right? And of course, the vocal needs way more mid-range. Yeah, like Jesus is saying as well, in the chat here. The vocals need way more mid-range. Yes. Nice. I like that you guys are saying the same things as me. The guitar sound had a bit more gain. It would really help the track. Absolutely. Yes. Love it. All right. Awesome. Cool. I love the CR1 on scream vocals. Yeah, dude. I've tried that too. I absolutely love that. Nice. All right. Love that. Let's continue, guys. Let's check out. Let me get a drink real quick. And we're going to go to James next. Let's see if James is here. James Perdue. Probably not pronouncing that correctly, but whatever. Let's check out James's mix. All right, cool. Progressive Hardsey was here. Love it, man. Yep, very much my pleasure. Let's check out James. I don't think James is here. That's totally fine. Here we go. Very good starting point again here. Very similar to a lot of mixes today, actually. The relationship in bass and rhythm guitars is, again, a little bit too focused on bass. Little cut, again 125 here. Seems to be a very common issue, or area I should say. And then more power down there again in the rhythm guitars. It's not really easy to hear that because I'm also bringing up a lot of the snare reverb here. Maybe there's a different section here.
Oh, it's all just a swap.
Yet.
Read the headlines, yeah, I know it all. Learn it on TikTok.
A little better there, yeah, but
Green glued to my face, swiping right like it's green glued to my face, Swiping right like it's a rat race. Read the headline, green glued to my face. Swiping right like it's a rat.
Yeah, that cut in bass is going down to 100 hertz, and then just a little bit more kind of lower mid beef in the rhythm guitars again, right? Just try to push that, what is it, that low mid energy a little bit more towards the guitar, so that your low mid is going to be just wider. And that's just going to give you a lot of, like, what is it, just wall of sound idea, right? This is also the exact reason why engineers like Zach Cervini and those kind of guys will use kind of stereo bass synths that are stereo, so not mono, but literally just stereo bass synths to kind of bring up that energy on the sides and give you a massive wall of sound all the way from the sub low end from that synth to the lower mid-range from the guitars, and then of course all the way up there to, like, what is it, 8K or something, so you massive wall there. But if you're gonna focus all of that energy in the bass, which is down the center, and of course, yeah, you're, I don't know, you're just leaving that on the table, right? So let's check out anything more here, because I do love the drums here. I like the amount of room sound here.
Learned it on TikTok in a bathroom stall. I bought a book, but I didn't read it. I've got Reddit.
Vocal is a little low in volume. I think it just needs to come up a little bit. So let's just raise the center.
Book, but I didn't read it. I've got Reddit, so I don't need it. My brain's
so yeah, I'm just bringing up bass and kick and snare as well, right? When we boost the center here. But I would say the vocal, I don't know, just bring it up by maybe 1.5, 2 dB, something like that. It's going to have it cut through this mix just a little bit easier. And especially for the listener, right? Somebody just jamming this song on the radio on his way to work or something. So it's going to be that little bit more easy to sing along and to get, you know, sucked in the song and into the lyrics and all these things. And with the vocal as it is right now, it's kind of there, but not really, right? It's an 8 out of 10 with that. So
useless things like cat videos and conspiracy kings. Oh, it's all just a swipe away. It's how I spend my boring day.
yeah, I agree with Alessandro and Steve for sure. Guitars are thin, bass a little boomy, right, like we discussed, and the drums are absolutely perfect. So don't touch the drums, absolutely. Alessandro, if the vocals are too low, you can use Master Rebalance by Ozone for... Now, I would just crank up the fader, man. Go to the vocal channel, fader up. Way easier than using any weird plugins or whatever, man. The easiest solution is always the best. Okay, then here the chorus is interesting again, because check out what is happening here.
Oh, I'm a genius.
So we actually do have a nice section here with a nice kind of explosive start of the chorus here.
Oh, I'm a genius.
Great, right? This is more what I was talking about in these earlier mixes, so I'm happy that we get an example of that now. And hopefully you guys can hear that too, right? It's like a drum fill, and then it's like... Ksh. But then we go into the chorus, so we have that first explosive crash.
Oh, I'm a genius in the dark.
But then whatever cymbal he starts to ride on is completely disappeared, right? It's completely way too low in volume, so that energy that we're just building up there with that first crash, we're completely letting that die off pretty much immediately, which is an absolute waste here.
Oh, I'm a genius in the town parade.
Sounds like a ride cymbal. If I had to guess, it will be a ride cymbal. I would totally crank that up and just keep that energy super high throughout that entire section. And just keep that energy alive there.
Just halfway made.
Hi-hat there, which is also too low.
Down, I just halfway made. Who needs facts?
Again, we have some accent crashes here, which are really good, so we get a ton of energy back for a second there.
Who needs facts when you've got memes? Reality's a joke and I'm living.
And then immediately after those accent crashes, the energy dies again, right? So that is a little bit missed opportunity there, right?
Town parade. The world is burning, but I got my snacks. I'll solve it all with the
Cool.
oh,
I think that is pretty much it, what this mix needs here.
come and join the dumb parade.
Yeah, cool section there. have those OOO vocals way louder here. Maybe sacrifice a little bit of the guitar for that. So guitar's low, OO vocals high, because to me they're way more catchy, way more sing-alongy, right? I can totally people singing along with those OO vocals, but I can't imagine them singing along with the plucky guitar, right? So I would sacrifice guitar, get more OO vocals in there. And of course, even more room sound on the snare, so that you really make this a massive kind of roomy bridge. And then hopefully we go back into the chorus here. Exactly. And then we go back to like the usual mix again, right? But over here we can totally have more room sound, more OO vocals that could also have more reverb, right? And then sacrifice a bit of the guitar for that. That's going to make this section a little bit more sing-alongy, a little bit more of like a break, and that, what is it like, in contrast, is going to make your chorus be even more sing-alongy, right? Because you're already in that vibe, I guess. So hopefully that makes sense. And of course, a great mix by James here. So keep it up, man. Absolutely love that. All right, cool. Steve saying, this whole mix is nearly perfect from my whole point of view. And here I am talking for 10 minutes about this mix. Yeah, no, you're right, man. It's like, to some degree, everything we're talking about here is not going to make or break the song, right? It's just like final touches that will make it go from like good to like, wow, that's great. That's going to be a hit song, right? So let's check it out. Let's check out the comments here. Yep, cool. Awesome. Alrighty, let's go to the next mix here. This is Kelvin Casey. Is Kelvin over here? Is he here with us tonight? Or to this afternoon, whatever time it is for you guys. If not, that's cool. Let's check out the mix here. Let's see what's going on with this song. Alright, very cool. Okay, let's check out this. Okay. Alright. Good vibes here. No sound. Let's see what's happening here. My sirens make no sound. Okay, I'm wondering if you guys can catch what I'm about to say about the vocals here. Drop it in the chat. What am I gonna say here about the vocals? My sirens make no sound. They lead me into oblivion. Can't find. Especially that first line. What do you guys think? What am I gonna say about that? Drop it in the chat if you can guess that. I would love to hear you guys guess. My sirens make no sound. They lead me into oblivion. Can't find no solid. Okay, no, I'll give you guys a hint. It's not too much reverb. I mean, maybe. It has nothing to do with mixing. Listen to it again. My sirens make no sound. They lead me into oblivion. Can't find no solid. Kimo guessed it. Yep. The tuning is off, guys. Not listening to, yeah, exactly. Braden has got it. The tuning. Sam, yes, love that. You guys are catching on. Love that. Absolutely. Tuning is a little bit off there. And we can talk about the mixing for hours again, right? Get the perfect settings, get the perfect amount of reverb, all these things. And it's still not going to be great simply because the tuning is a little bit off, right? My sirens make no sound. Shout out. He goes a little sharp there. They lead me into oblivion. Yeah, I think we can maybe have a little bit less reverb or maybe a little bit of a different reverb, because I do think that we got like a full minute of like build up here or something. Let's see, 70, 55. Yeah, we got like a good 30 seconds of context here. And then the vocal kicks in. I do think we need reverb on the vocal. I don't hate it. I don't hate the amount. Maybe a different character. But again, we can have all these things perfectly dialed in. But if the vocal is out of tune, it's still not going to hit, right? Sirens make no sound. Okay, Other than that, I would say we have a guitar on the right side here,
My sirens make no.
which is kind of fighting with all these toms. So,
My sirens make.
right over there. This is kind of boomy there.
My sirens make.
I would take out some of that 200 and give him a bit more, I guess, just mid-range.
My sirens make no sound.
Notice how that guitar just became 7 dB louder, obviously, but also like how it just cuts through the toms a lot easier by giving it a little bit of its own space in the mix here. 1.5K, I should say.
My sirens make no sound.
Completely disappears when we just undo that, right? So that's another small detail, but I think it's gonna matter with the sense of clarity, right?
Won't take no calls until
Oh, and then especially the snare here.
swimming down. My phone won't.
Yeah, the snare can be way bigger. I'm actually thinking this may be out of phase with some of the other drum elements, maybe.
This ocean swimming down. My phone won't take no.
And the reason I'm thinking that is because the kick sounds pretty big, the toms are sounding pretty big, and then the snare is the one thing that sounds, what is the word? Like it's brittle, right? There's a lot of like sizzling sound going on, but no real foundational kind of low end here. So
This ocean swimming down.
that makes me suspect that it might be a phasing thing, or you just need to boost a ton, like a million dB of low end on the snare here.
This ocean swimming down. My phone won't.
Like 7 dB, and I still want to push it further. So yeah, again, it makes me feel like maybe phasing, but you totally need a way bigger snare to kind of work with the toms that you have in this mix.
The walls start falling down. Those waters.
It's definitely bright enough, but it just needs a lot more foundation, a lot more low end.
The leading me astray. Somebody save me from the waves. I'm occupied in the space.
Okay, so we got a chorus here, again with some vocal tuning issues.
Me from the waves. I'm occupied.
Yeah, and let's see what we can do with those guitars here.
Me from the waves.
Because I feel like most of these guitars, no matter what's it's the rhythm or the lead or there's some sort of an ambient thing, that all of them seem to kind of be living in this area here. You can pretty much hear all the guitar parts in that little area that we just soloed out here. So let's see what would happen if we actually boost a bit more presence.
Me from the waves. I'm occupied in the space.
So a little bit more, not this much, but just a little bit more 1.5 on these rhythm guitars will kind of shift them upwards a little bit in the frequency spectrum here.
Me from the waves. I'm occupied.
And then we have this, what is it, this lead guitar melody here.
I'm occupied in the space.
You can kind of hear it in the center here.
In the space.
Totally give that a lot more mid-range right over here.
From under
Yeah, so a little bit lower, 1K-ish. And again, you just give that a little bit more its own place like that. And I feel like separation between these guitars is kind of an issue here. So the more you can kind of boost unique frequency areas on these different guitar layers, the more you kind of create separation between them. And the more they're just going to be a little bit easier to pick out. And now I know this genre and the song is not really asking for super saturated, like everything super pristine and all these things. But even with the fact in mind that things should overlap a little bit more in this one, I would still say right now it's a bit too much and it's a little bit too difficult to kind of pick out these different guitar layers from each other.
me from the waves. They're gonna make my body look
Okay, then we have these guitar accents here. These and these are cool, but then there's like a lot of reverb bringing out in these little sections there. And there seems to be a lot of like, noise in between it, of like people moving their hands, etc., which is a little bit distracting. I would say it's not always necessary to cut that out, and in some songs and genres you can get away with that, but here it's just distracting a bit. Because you got the reverb, and then there's like noises, and then duh, duh, but you want that to be a little tighter when it's more these accent hits, right? Okay, then we have a massive, massive energy drop and a volume drop for some reason. And that reason is not clear to me. I think this is like a post-chorus thing or something. So I think it can and should be pretty much just as big and loud as the chorus here, to kind of keep that energy high. And then we go into the verse again, I think. Exactly. And then the energy can drop significantly because it's a verse, right? But this section here should totally just have that same amount of energy as the chorus has. So here we're gonna have massive power chords, you know. So drums can come up, the guitars need to come up there, and then over here, then we bring the energy back to go into the verse again. Down in the same old prison cell. One last breath, I go down. Yeah, and then we build the energy towards the chorus. I think that's fine, that's okay. Then we have some sort of like a lead guitar in the center here again. That one should again be way louder and cut through a lot more, so just give it a bit more presence. Let's try again. And just make it a little bit more a priority in a section like that. And without, it's not grabbing any attention, right? So, yeah, more 2.5 is what I'm boosting here. It's just a wide bell. I'm just looking for presence and not even looking at the numbers here. But this is the area where it really starts to cut through here. So, that's going to help a lot with those lead parts there. Alright, I think that should be enough here for Kelvin. I don't know if Kelvin is here, actually, which is totally fine. No, I don't think he's here. That's okay. All right, cool. Let's move on. We got a discussion here. Disagree about the tuning of the vocals. Grunging of the song definitely allows for some imperfection. Well, yes. I would say imperfection is totally fine. And I don't think you need to completely flatten the tuning, right? But I would say this is too far out of tune to call it grunchiness and taste and art. This is just like, he doesn't quite nail the performance here, and it's distracting, and it doesn't really lock in with the guitars. And that's what I would kind of try to listen for when I'm tuning these vocals, to make sure that the raw performance is still there, and you don't completely make it T-Pain super flat, right? But you still want to make sure that the notes that he's hitting and that he's landing on are the correct ones. Because yeah, otherwise it just sounds, no matter what we're gonna do, it just sounds off, right? Anyways, let's move on. Let's go to Marco here. Let's see, what time is it? We got an hour in or something like that, which is good. I'm not sure how many mixes we can do today, and I'm pretty sure I'm not gonna get to everybody. I think there was like 50 mixes or something. So yeah, we're not gonna get to everybody, obviously. But hopefully you guys are still digging this. Are you guys digging this? Do you enjoy these types of streams, guys, with reviewing you guys' mixes? If so, we're going to do these more often. So let me know in the chat if this is valuable to you guys or not. And then we'll change the plan accordingly to that. All right, let's check out Marco here. Let's see what he's been working on. Right off the bat, we got the same issue again as in the earlier mixes here, right? The low mid of the bass and the relationship with the guitars is leaning too heavily to the bass here. It's kind of boomy there. We can do a big cut there. That's a lot cleaner there. And then we have more energy here in the rhythm guitars. We can actually boost a lot here. 670B, and now I feel like, we have some wall of sound guitars there. Really cool. But yeah, we need to do big moves here, right? 6 dB here and 7.5 dB there. And without, it's just too boomy, right? So definitely try to make that change. Nice, great toms there. The snare is a million dB louder though than the rest of the drum kit. That stands out. Yeah, I would say the snare is a little bit too loud for sure. Yeah, especially if you compare the level of the lead guitar, which is down the center, and in my opinion should be kind of like the main focus point for the listener, right? Is again by far the most interesting section here, the most interesting part that is being played here. So it should be prioritized. It should be right up our faces. But then the snare comes in and it's like way more upfront, way more in your face than that lead guitar. Which I would probably sacrifice snare so that the snare just becomes part of the drum kit that is kind of supporting there. And then have that lead guitar take a step forward and really become the main focus, right? Yeah, that snare suddenly feels like way up here, right? So that feels a little weird.
Fractured.
Alright, this is a good section to try those EQ moves again here. Yeah, I love that. So these two changes here. Cut in bass at 140 and just kind of boosting the same area here on the guitars. Sounds absolutely massive there. Then again, a tuning issue here with the guitars, I think. I think the guitars are picked too hard here. And they go sharp, right? It's going to do that kind of sound here. It's a little distracting as well. Nice, I do like that. We'll probably have those kind of the same volume though. They seem to be kind of going lower in volume there. More like that, so kind of, yeah, just have them the same volume. It's more energetic. It's just a minor detail, right? But it just helps. Yeah, other than that, it's mostly a lot of volume balance things for Marco here, because the guitars just need to come up in volume and low mids, right? So now I'm just raising all the sides here, so all the guitars hopefully by 4 dB, and now I start to feel like the balance is kind of, what is it, in a better spot, right? Where it's kind of drums in the center, massive wall of guitars, but if we don't do this, then it just feels like massive drums down the center and nothing really on the sides here. It just completely falls flat when we don't do that. So that makes me wonder if Marco is actually mixing on speakers or on headphones, because this seems to be a very typical problem for people that mix on headphones, where they get the balance and everything kind of off, in the sense that like everything down the center is a lot louder than everything on the sides. You know what I mean? So let's see. Oh, Marco's here. Good. Yeah, let me know, Marco. Are you mixing on headphones or not? Because I'm just assuming and guessing, obviously. So it would be cool if you could jump in the chat there. It might be the crush bus that is too loud. It might be the snare poking through too much. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. Speakers. Okay, cool. In that case, it's good to know that your sides are just too low compared to what's ever in the center here. So make sure you bring up the sides, bring up the guitars for sure. And then, yeah, the vocals are probably the biggest problem here. Yeah, the vocals feel under-processed. I think you can push that a lot further, man. Like more saturation, that's for sure. And similar as one of the first mixes that we did, you need more body, so more kind of like that chest frequency, right? Like that kind of sound here. It feels like it's mostly air and then a bunch of lower sound, right? But no definition, no real mid-range here. That gives him a ton of definition and it helps him cut through like 10 times easier, right? And then, of course, yeah, I'm not sure if that's going to work by just cranking up escalator on the mix bus here, but or on the full mix here. Let's try. I want to hear what it sounds like with more saturation here. Okay, we're going to ruin this mix, but I'm down for it. Do you hear the vocals? It sounds so aggressive now, right? And without those two moves, vocal takes 5 steps back, right? Not nearly as aggressive, not nearly as defined. So definitely have a lot of this extra mid-range going on. It's going to help a ton. And then crank up some escalator. Be aggressive. Make sure that you can kind of hear the distortion. That's usually what I'm going for when I'm mixing vocals like this, the scream vocals. Just kind of you hear that little bit of that drivey sound on there. I just wait, but I'm still in line. I pretend to forgive this time. Yeah, man. Other than that, this is cool, man. I love the vibes here. Yep, and more de-essing, like Steve is saying for sure as well. Yep, a little bit more de-essing is necessary too to kind of tame that what is it, 8 to 10k, 12k area a little bit. Same point here about the lead guitars, they just need to be a little bit more prioritized. And yet I end up so close to all these walls to show. It gave the world and nice, okay. Yeah, just the guitar solo, this is actually more the level that I was hoping the other lead guitar was gonna be as well. Probably have a little bit more like stereo delay or something on that lead guitar though, because it's kind of slow, right? There's a couple notes that he's playing, so you can kind of make those interesting by having long like weird delay throws going on left and right to kind of make that section a bit more interesting here. Yeah, because you got some cool vocal effects there as well. So if you give the lead guitar some cool effects there too, which is going to be a very cool, interesting sounding bridge there. And then over here, you obviously got to have those rhythm guitars cranked because they're playing a cool riff there, right? So literally not joking. I want them that loud, so 8 dB louder than they are right now. That's sick, right? Just massive focus on that cool riff there. Yeah, nice. Other than that, man, great job, Marco. This is great. The snare sounds absolutely sick. I love it. I think it's one of the CCB samples or something from in the program. I love what you did to it because it sounds massive. So drum mixing, you got that down. Just try to bring your guitars way up so that you have equal kind of awesome and size in the guitar mix as you have in the drum mix. I think if as soon as you can match that and kind of get those more in balance with each other, your mixes are going to be absolutely fire. So keep that up. I love what you're doing here, dude. Love it. Okay, cool. Let's move on. Let's catch up on the chat actually, because I just asked you a question whether you like these streams, and then I completely ignored you guys. So, but yeah, looks like you guys are enjoying. Love that. Okay, cool. Then we're definitely gonna do these more often. Alrighty. Snare said smack. Yep. Yeah, love that. All right, super sick. Let's continue. Let's go to Clive actually. Let me see how far we at. Alrighty. Yep, Clive. Let's check out Clive's mix here. Here we go. Synths are awesome, man. I love those. I just think they need a lot, and I mean a lot more support and just foundation, I guess, from the drums. The drums are definitely falling short in this one. And I want to say both in volume, but also just in size, like in low end, in all these things. So let's see if we can crank up a little bit of the low end on kick. Of course, we're bringing up more bass here as well. So yeah, it's not ideal just doing that on the full mix here. Yeah, even with this boost, we already get a little bit more of that foundation. But yeah, I think the biggest problem with this mix so far, at least, is that the drums are really not playing their role, which is they're not being the big foundation, right? I'm not against having the synths being this massive, because I love that. But in order for that to work, you really got to have a massive foundation as well. So way bigger drums, way louder, way more prioritized. You know, to really play their role more. So, same thing for snare. I like how bright it is. I think the attack is good. It just needs a ton more low end. So I'm boosting 10 dB, and I still want to push it a lot further than that. Yeah, I still think the snare needs more than that. So you really have to be a lot more aggressive when it comes to drum mixing and making that a priority in the mix here. Toms are a little better, better than kick and snare. Even they can come up a bit. But it's mostly kick and snare that I'm talking about that really need to be prioritized a lot more. Right cymbal, on the other hand, is just a little bit too loud, actually, which is a very rare problem. Not a lot of people are having that problem. Most people mix rides too low, so... Yeah, the toms are actually really good. It's really kick and snare that kind of need to match their level of awesomeness, you know? I wonder if there's going to be any vocals here. Yeah, I do like the cymbals as well. Same as Steve. I think they sound fine. But again, the ride is a little bit too loud for my taste, at least. Because it's kind of distracting me away from the guitar or synth solo and onto the ride cymbal. And I don't think we want the listener to be focused on the ride cymbal here, right? We just want them to listen to the melody of the guitar solo or synth solo. I don't even know. I don't think there's going to be vocals here. I don't think we need to check out much more of this mix, because it's obviously a super vibey kind of 80s tracks where the synths are like the main thing and the guitar solo is going to be the main thing. Those are fine. The guitar solo can come up in volume just a touch, but really the biggest problem, the biggest elephant in the room here is just the drums that are not playing their foundational, like fundamental role here. So massive kick, massive snare, that's what you need, and then this mix is going to be Fire. So that was for Clive. Hopefully this helps, man. Cool. Drums do have 80s vibe. Absolutely. Yeah. It's guitar beats. Absolutely. I fully agree, man. Okay. Let's check out Alberto without the last name. Let's check out your mix. Here we go.
Vorrei avere più talento.
Okay.
Poter fermare il tempo.
Right off the bat, the vocal is a bit under-processed in one way, but over-processed in another way, to keep it clear. No, it's under-compressed, and it's over-EQ'd. It's like over-scooped, I would say. So we need a lot more body. It's a common thing, actually. People don't usually have enough mid-range in their vocals. As you can see, right? Because how many mixes have we had with this problem? 5, 6?
Per fermare il tempo. Regger di più l'alcol.
That's more like a full range kind of vocal sound, right?
Regger di più l'alcol. Regger di più l'alcol.
And then there's a little bit of harshness somewhere, actually.
Regger di più l'alcol. Regger di più l'alcol.
Probably around there.
Regger di più l'alcol.
It's actually very rare, very, very rare that I have to do a surgical cut on vocals. So that makes me feel like this may be like a cheaper mic or something like that.
Regger di più l'alcol.
Anyway, that's EQ, but I definitely want to compress the vocal like a lot more. So let's just pull up a distressor, which is a go-to vocal comp here.
Regger di più l'alcol.
Yeah, it sounds terrible, right? Because we got the guitar as well going on here.
Regger di più l'alcol.
We're doing a bit too much.
Regger di più l'alcol.
Yeah, unfortunately I can't really show that, but the vocal sounds a bit more stable that way, like stable in terms of the position that it takes up in the mix. And right now it's just like kind of constantly taking steps back and forward between different syllables.
Regger di più l'alcol.
And that makes it feel a little distracting. So
Ballare come Michael. Vorrei smettere di fumare, ma senza ingrassare.
yeah, so pretty much the entire mix could use a little bit more of that same body. So let's see what we can do here with the key.
Smettere di fumare, ma senza ingrassare.
Actually, just doing this on the full mix here sounds really, really good.
Mare, ma senza ingrassare.
I'm actually surprised how well that works. Because it seems to be that most instruments and vocals, of course, kind of need this, right? More mid-range, more body. So that makes me feel like your monitoring position or your speakers or whatever could actually be a little bit too aggressive in the mid-range, so that you start to compensate for that by cutting a lot of mid-range, which then on other people's speakers will sound like a very scooped mix, like this one. So
Mare, ma senza ingrassare.
yeah, this definitely sounds awesome with a lot more body in, well, kick, snare, guitars, vocals, pretty much everything that's going on here, right?
Dipingere la Gioconda, ordinare un'altra bionda. Vorrei
Yeah, and that in combination with way heavier compression on the vocals, not necessarily because I want it to be super squashed and lose all of its character, but more with the goal in mind of like keeping the position that the vocalist takes up in terms of the front to back image in this mix, to keep that super consistent, right?
avrei scritto Purple Rain, mangiare quel che voglio.
And then the other thing is that the guitars, I like the tone. I think it's a nice tone, but they can be just a little brighter so that they kind of cut through a little bit more.
Avrei scritto Purple Rain,
Actually, a lot here, right? Because it looks like a small boost here. It's 9 dB.
avrei scritto Purple Rain.
And it sounds absolutely awesome on these guitars. So just way more upper mid-range there.
Digerire l'aglio, ma dici che basti tu.
Yeah, and then same thing here. We go into what I think is the chorus. Then we have a nice opening crash.
Basti,
That can be a little louder, and then we have the right cymbal. That can also be just a little louder so that we have a bit more energy in that chorus here.
ma dici che basti tu a farmi felice. Lo so che ti piace quando
Yeah, I think that is pretty much everything that this mix needs.
dai più bella finché
Because in my ears, the volume balance seems to be in a good spot. I think the guitar tone again is just really good. It just needs a bit more of that upper mid range. But yeah, the biggest elephant in the room here is just that mid range on the overall mix, right? It's more of that, and then you're pretty much done. So yeah, definitely try to crank up that mid range a lot more, Alberto, and then I think you're gonna be in a great spot here, man. Yeah. Mastering engineer may heal this track. Yeah, for sure, man. Love that. All right, let's move over to Thomas here. Thomas, what is it? Terry Fault. Terry Lault. Ah, man, I'm the worst with names, as you guys know. So whatever. Thomas. Let's keep it at Thomas. Let's check out your mix. Here we go. All right, good start. I'd say a couple things come to mind, which are the guitars, which are kind of on the harsher side. So let's see if we can find that. Yeah, 3K-ish. Doing a pretty good cut there. Actually, let's do the stereo, because not all the guitars are panned out. So let's just make these full cuts, I guess. This is really what I'm looking for. Way more of that kind of twangy mid-range sound right here. And less of that. Less of that 3K there. Yeah, I took that a little bit too far now, of course. Just that twangy character that I'm really missing there. I really like what that sounds like. Okay, other than that, your kick drum needs a little bit of work. Because it's a lot of sub-low end. Even to the point where my NS10s are starting to pump out some sub-low end here. Yeah, I can easily hear 50 hertz on my NS10s, which is not usually a good sign. So a little bit less of that 50, perhaps a little bit more of like 90. Actually, no, you don't even need that. Your kick was already good there. Yeah, but then you can actually emphasize the clicky sound just a bit more. So a little bit more presence, maybe a bit more 8K high shelf, right? As you see Jordan doing all the time in the courses. But yeah, the sub-low end is a little bit too much. The other thing is the snare. The snare feels as if he sits way back into the mix. And I would like it to take a step forward here. And again, play that foundational role that the drums have, right? Just be the rhythm, be a massive foundation for the song. But if the snare is all the way back there, it's just not really going to play that role. So I feel like it's a little bit too roomy, too wet. So a little bit more of the direct sound is what I would like to hear in this one. Okay, then the weirdest thing I would say with the vocals here is actually the panning. What I'm really missing here is that one lead vocal that is the obvious main center point of attention for the listener, right down the center, right in my face. That's really what I'm missing here. But instead, what's happening, the vocals kind of spread out, like all the way over there and there. So I'm kind of like torn, like, where should I put my focus exactly, right? It's kind of weird, kind of vague. It could even be that you have 3 vocals here, like 1 down the center and then 2 panned out. That's possible as well. I actually think there is 1 down the center. I would try to treat that as like the lead vocal, the obvious all the way in your face vocal, and then have these 2 panned out ones just sitting to the background there, just kind of supporting that lead vocal, giving him a little bit of extra weight and an extra little bit of sense of space and all these words, you know. But you want to have that connection with that one lead vocal down the center that's in your face, that is grabbing your attention. And that's really what I'm missing here.
The past, I can ease the pain. I'll get involved.
I agree, it's an artistic choice, Richard, absolutely, for sure. But again, I'm missing that, right? You can totally have that chorusy vibe while still having that one lead vocal that is just grabbing your attention, right? So
Romantically, let's work around it. Work around love.
yeah, and then for mixing, actually, the vocal also just needs, similar to all the other mixes here, right? More mid-range, right?
Let's work around it. Work around love.
In this case, it's a little bit lower, though. It's like 500 hertz mid-range that I'm missing here.
Let's work around it. Work around love.
Yeah, just a bit more body, weight, definition, all these things that can be found here.
Let's work around it. Work around love.
Really like what that's doing here. Just giving him, again, just more definition.
We can find a way along without penalty.
Yeah, I think that should pretty much cover it for this mix already.
To work around love.
Yep, so just summarize, man. Just guitars, more body, vocals, more body, plus that one lead vocal that is just down the center, grabbing your attention, and it's easily to kind of relate to as a listener. And then for drums, less sub-low end on the kick, way more snare. That's also a little bit more upfront and has a little bit more weight to it. And I think that should pretty much cover it for this one. Yeah, other than that, I think you're good to go with this one. All right, let's see. Yeah, exactly. Like Steve said, there's nothing in the center, in the middle of the stereo field, other than the snare and the kick, of course. Yep. But I agree, man. It's like it's too far spread out for sure. Yep. All right, let's see. Joseph will say, yeah. I gotta say, I can't take all this feedback with so little hair on your head, man. Yeah, dude, I knew it. I knew you were gonna miss it. All right, let's check out Noe, or Anton, I think, and then I think Noe is the last name. Let's check out the mix here. Nice. Okay, good transition there to from the piano to that. Okay, let's see. Bass is definitely a problem here. It's a little bit too low mid boomy here. Right over there. Yeah, now it actually sounds pretty cool. This is pretty good. I like this for bass. Just opens up that lower mid-range completely. And now you can actually get away with a lot more fundamental frequencies on your drums. Because I do think that your drums are kind of on the thinner side. You can totally get away with a little bit more sub-low end on kick now. And way more 200 on snare. The snare is definitely on the thinner side here. I know with this move I'm totally bringing up that bass again, right? But hopefully just listen to the snare a little bit. Because without this, the snare to me feels too much as if it's just the stick attack and no real body to it. So drums need more body, more size, more 3D, I would say, as well. Like your snare is definitely dry. Would totally crank up more room sound and reverb on the snare to just give it more like a sense of ambience and space, 3D, size, all these words. But before you do any of that, I would say your bass is occupying all that space that you need for that. So I would make those cuts in bass first. And then, give yourself the room in that low end, in that lower mids, to push your drums further. So first, make those changes on bass. Try to cut out that excessive low mids, and then crank up your drums. Nice guitar sound here. Then we go over here, and we have the slapping bass. From the depths within my... Which is nice sounding, but it's way too loud. It's even louder than the vocal. And that is probably not the best idea, because the role of the bass guitar here is not like a lead part, I would say. It's just more like cool, but it's supposed to be more to the background. But he's totally way up front, way even more than a vocal, right? And even more than kick and snare. From the depths within. Like bass is by far the loudest part here. I would totally flip that around so that the vocal that comes in, that gets introduced here, takes up more attention. Kick and snare should just play its foundational, fundamental role, and then bass can kind of just be the most interesting thing behind the vocal, right? But again, right now it's completely in front of it, so yeah, it's totally overstepping there for sure. When there's a bass and a snare at the same time, we can't even hear the snare anymore, right? Okay, there's that. Then vocal needs a bit of tuning. From the depths, he goes a little flat there. From the depths within my... He's also not perfectly in tune, so that's going to be a bit distracting. That's tracking and editing, of course, but mixing-wise, I'd say it's a little dry. To me, this comes across as like a very kind of vibey section, right? You got some ambient stuff going on, and then you got that slapping bass that's just there to kind of provide some coolness. And then you got the vocal that should, hopefully, contribute to that sense of ambience here. But then the vocal is completely dry, and it's not really doing that yet, so... Yeah, I would hard drown that in reverb, man, or delays, stereo delays, right? And then, of course, you drown the delay in reverb. And that's just going to give you a nice sense of ambience around that vocal. That's going to totally vibe with those ambient sounds that you've got going on there already. Very cool. Yeah, same thing here. Volume balance is really your biggest enemy here. You need way more drums, way more foundation and fundament, to build all these things upon. You need more guitars. And a lot less bass. So bass is down the center. That to me feels like the right balance between bass and rhythm guitars, pretty much. And then if you have this and way louder drums, then I think the volume balance here is going to be in a good spot here. But yeah, you need to work on the volume balance there the most, for sure. It's a weird breathing sound there. Feels cut off or something. Feels kind of off. Make sure you check what's going on there. We'll be the light that truth will rise, scorching the shadows inside. Okay, yeah, this is cool, but again, just volume balance, right? More guitars, vocal is maybe a little bit too much on top. We'll be the light that truth will rise. Yeah, and definitely bass keeps kind of overstepping, for sure. All right. That's nice. Okay, this is very cool. I love this kind of weird guitar here in that little break. But then it completely disappears way too soon when the next part kind of comes in. I would love there to be a massive kind of delay that's kind of slowly creeping in, and that kind of, kind of rings out here a bit more. Because right now it just feels so random. It's like, here's a random part, boom, done, right? If there's, I don't know, like a cool reverb tail or like a delay throw or something like following here, then it's just gonna, I don't know, just not be as sudden or something. It's just gonna feel more in place. Right now it feels kind of out of place there. Yeah, same thing here with the volume balance, right? And the reverb on the vocals. And there again, yeah. So I think we covered most of that for this mix. Anton, I think that's your name at least. I hope you see this. I hope you found value in this, man. Let me know. All right, cool. Let's see, what time is it? Yeah, we got 1 minute, 1 hour and 45 in pretty much. I'd say let's do 2 more songs. Let me see if I got those lined up. Yeah, I should have 2 more. And then we're gonna call this, and then hopefully we can continue all of this, the mix reviews in the community, mix reviews, the circle, right, in the community. I'm planning to be a little bit more active in there as well, and just give you guys written feedback in there. So we're gonna do that as well. And of course, like you guys said, you like this stuff, so we're gonna be doing more of these calls. So no rush and no worry if your mix hasn't been reviewed yet. There will be a time and a place, absolutely, for all of you, probably. So let's check out 2 more songs, and then we're gonna call it a day for today. This one is by Nick Jello. Let's check it out, see what is up. Here we go. I like the guitars, cool lo-fi sound. Vocal totally needs to come up a little bit in both body and volume here, though. Let's try that, actually, without just talking about it. Let's just do it. Or kind of like that. Not exactly perfect, but yeah, just more volume and a little bit more of that mid-range 1.5K. Just like how he has a bit more definition like that. Let's see what else is happening here. Ooh, that hi-hat is thin. Yeah, that hi-hat needs more body. For sure. Let's see what we can do here. That's more the hi-hat that I would like to hear. So 11 dB of more everything that is not just the top end. That's basically what I'm doing here. So I'm not even looking at numbers or frequencies or how many dB or whatever. I'm just looking at everything that is not top end should be brought up in this hi-hat so that you have a lot more body and definition here. Versus, that's a pretty big difference. And this is also going to be cutting through a dense mix way easier than just a top end hi-hat there. Okay, so we need more body in this mix as well. Specifically kick and guitars and the vocals, of course. So kick, let's do that first. I do like that there's a lot of attack on this kick. That's good. It's cutting through. It's audible. That's all great. But we need a lot more of that, like, you know, stomp in the stomach here. Classic 90 hertz boost here. 9 dB. There's tons of room there that you're not using yet, so feel free to use that. We finally have a big kick drum that's really cutting through in that lower mid area there. And without that boost, the kick just turns into, you know, just the clicky sound and just the attack. We need that. We need the attack, but we also need a lot of low mid beef, punch, energy, boom, right? That kind of stuff. Then same for rhythm guitars. They have a nice presence. They have tons of energy there, but they need a lot more body and a lot more I guess just definition. Let's see. Again, just that entire lower half of the sound, right? So presence is all good, no problems there. That entire lower half really needs to come up, and a lot, right? Again, 9 dB here. Then we have a big like wall of sound guitar thing going on. So big boost there. Vocals, right? I've already kind of showed you already here, like that. And if you combine all three of those things, this mix is pretty much done already, right? Because like I said, volume balance is good. I like the snare. It's a little dry. You can totally get away with more room sound, but the snare is not your make or break it thing here. I'd say the lack of body in guitars, vocals, and kick are way more important right now than your snare. Yeah, and like I said earlier, then for the cymbals as well, right? The cymbals feel as if you high pass them pretty much all the way up there, and it's just like a bunch of top end. And that's the cymbals, right? But you need a lot, because cymbals are very much like a broadband instrument. They kind of start at like 300 and then they go all the way up to 20K. And so you want to leave a lot of that mid-range, that body, kind of that washy sound. You want to leave as much as you can in there to give your cymbals nice, like, I don't know, just definition, body, all these things, weight almost, right? But right now it just feels way too thin, like the hi-hat here. Also the ride has a similar feel to it. Yeah, way more mid-range there. Okay, and a similar thing for the guitar solo, more presence. More 1K-ish, 1.5, something like that. Notice how it cuts through so easily with that extra body there. Completely disappeared, right? So yeah, you just have to be bolder with all your boosting that you're doing in the mid-range. I think that's really going to be your biggest like next step to work on, right? Just try to get as much mid-range in your mix as you can get away with without making things sounding too dense and fighting with each other, of course, because I think you got separation. I think you got a good idea of how to handle that. So try to get the best of both worlds thing going on here, and separation and way more mid-range on everything here. Then I think your mixes are gonna go to the next level. Love that. All right, let's do our last mix for today. Then we're gonna sign off, and then we're gonna continue this, like I said, in the community mix reviews channel there. So post as many mixes as you guys want in the channel there. Help each other out, right? Like I said at the beginning of this call as well. Review each other's mixes, not just to help another person, but also to train your own ears in the process there. It's like the best ear training that you can do. So yeah, hopefully you guys liked this. We're gonna be doing this, let's see, it's late August now. Probably in a few months again. Maybe earlier. Probably earlier, actually. Because I love doing this. I love helping you guys on this kind of one-on-one level, right? So we're definitely going to be doing this quite soon. Keep an eye out for that. Let's check out our last mix of today, which is Trude's Hafner. Let's check it out.
Coming out of my cage and I've been doing just fine. Gonna be down because I want it all. You set it up with a kiss, so did it end up like this.
Okay, good things here. The guitars are great sounding. The vocals have way too much reverb on them though, so they're really clouding up way over these guitars. And the guitars are really struggling now because of the reverb on the vocal here. It feels as if it's both too much reverb, but also too long, like too much decay time. And so it's just constantly going and going and going. Yeah, I would absolutely try to undo a lot of that reverb. Let's see what's happening here. Very much in the same theme here. The snare has a similar problem. Yeah, so this is important. So you have a certain amount of time between snare hits. So it's so that's the amount of time between snare hits. And then the reverb time is it's way, way, way longer. And so the reverb of the first snare hit hasn't stopped yet, and then the next snare hit is already coming in, and it's just a constant ocean of reverb that's going on here. And it's really clouding up everything in this mix. It's completely killing the definition here. So I would dial back the mix knob on that reverb by a lot, and also the reverb time. I'm actually going to give you guys a little premiere here. I have yesterday shot the most in-depth snare mixing video that I've ever done, like tutorial for YouTube, and it's gonna come up soon. And you'll see me using absolutely zero reverb on snares, but still get a lot of like sense of space and everything around it by using room samples. Check out that video as soon as it's out, because like this is a very common thing, like where the reverb is just too long and it's too dense and it's too, just too loud and it's clouding up the mix and everything. And so instead of having these long reverbs, try to go for very short but very dense room samples or reverb. Reverb totally works as well, but just make sure that it's very short, like that's it. That's how long your snare reverb needs to be, except when it's a breakdown or something, right? But really just try to go for super short and dense, and it's going to give you the same benefits. Tons of sense of space, tons of ambience, but none of this kind of cloudiness, right? This kind of, cloudiness is the best word I can give that. I think this mix would have been twice as good with the reverb muted, actually. The kick is great, snare seems to be okay, just too wet. Snare here is already a lot better, right? Snare can actually come up a little bit, and kick, by the way, and vocals actually, so everything in the center. So let's try that. Super sick. Yeah, I love this. So more kick, more snare, and more, more vocals here. That really sounds awesome. Yeah, and without it, they all just kind of fall back into the mix a little bit too far. Synths are really cool though, I like those. And I think the relationship between your guitars and your synths is actually in a pretty decent spot here. The synths are a little bit louder, but I kind of dig that. It's kind of going for that, what's that band called again? Like Electric Cowboy or something, that kind of vibe here. Without the 1980s mustache then, maybe, but... Yeah, and the scream vocals here come in, and they are also drowned in reverb, and they're completely clouding over the mix, right? It's kind of like just adding a massive kind of blanket over the mix with reverb. So yeah, totally less decay time, like way less wetness as well. Because your dry drums are great, man. Oh, no real issues there. They can be louder, but that's the biggest issue we have there. Yeah, notice how long that reverb goes on here. And then we got the next thing already happening, and the reverb is still going, right? Totally confirms what we were just talking about earlier, right? Yeah, that's pretty much it for this mix, man. We just kind of repeated there. So yeah, hopefully this helps. Truths here. I'm just seeing comments here by Bright High Productions. finally got the balls to submit something and didn't make it through. Dude, sorry to hear that. I'm lucky. I'm happy to read that you got you submitted something, man, because that is a step for sure. I'd be way happy to help you guys in the mix review circle in the community, though. So again, make sure you post your mixes there, and again, I'm gonna be more active there. So again, hopefully you guys enjoyed the mix reviews here, and you see the value in just seeing how somebody else would listen to this. Put words to what you're hearing, train your ears at the same time, all these things. That's it. That's about it for today. Again, I hope you enjoyed this. I'll definitely be seeing you very soon in the community with more updates, more videos, more stuff, more cool things coming your guys' way. Have a great, whatever it is, evening, morning, whatever it is for you guys. We'll be in touch very soon. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.